Hey podcasters, if you're a landlord and you're looking to increase your profit from your existing property portfolio, this episode will give you the answers. I'm talking about increasing your profit by up to 200%. That's no joke, up to 200% more profit. If you're a landlord, you need to listen to this episode to the end right now to find out the tactics and strategies, exactly how we're doing this, and you can do the same. There's nothing for sale here, guys. We're just giving you these tactics, this content, so you can take them away for free and apply them in your property portfolio right now. The big question is this: how did I buy over 200 properties and build a multi-million-pound property business, then lose my wife, lose my children, lose my home, lose my businesses, and lose my liberty, when I was sentenced to nearly 5 years in prison for a crime committed by a lifelong friend, then leave prison with no home, no income, in £175,000 of debt, and then find the courage to start over and build a successful business, now doing $500,000 in revenue in the last 12 months. Now, this podcast will give you those exact tactics, those exact strategies, and the answers. Okay, so let's talk about the old ways of making money from property, which most of you guys, this audience, my listeners, the podcasters, and wherever you see this episode on social, okay, guys? So most of you guys will be aware of buy-to-let, which came in somewhere around the millennium, somewhere around the year 2000. Buy-to-let, broke into the market just a bit before, and then more and more buy-to-let mortgages and different products became available, which is borrowing money from a bank or your own money, putting that money into an investment property and charging somebody or a tenant rent. Now, that's buy-to-let in a nutshell, okay, guys? Now, apologies if I'm going very basic, but we'll start there before we go deep into obviously how you guys, just by listening to this episode, will understand the unlocks, the tactics, the secret. They're not secrets to us, it's just what we're using every day in my business, and we have done for since the year 2000 when I bought my first investment property, and probably somewhere in the region of around 2007, somewhere around that period, we started to do more short letting, which is what I'm going to talk about with you guys here today on this episode. Now, which has been responsible for us to increase our profits from buy to let from here to here. I'm talking up to 200%. Now, that's on average for us across our portfolio in multiple different cities. So we'll go deeper into that later. So obviously, buy to let, how it started is renting or buying a property, renting the property out, collecting rent, and obviously the difference between the rent and the mortgage costs and the running costs is your net profit, okay? Now, from that net profit, me, myself as a landlord, and many of you guys on here as well, I've been a landlord since the year 2000, okay? So 20 years ago now since I bought my first investment property, which was in Bexhill in the South Coast, which was a 2-bedroom flat, which was converted, okay? So, from around the year 2000, I would say me as an investor was comfortable and was happy and was in the game and was an investor if I was earning anything from £100 plus a month from that buy-to-let. Now, the average, they say, on the internet, from all the stats and the quotes and the statistics, is the average buy-to-let property generates around about £200 to £300 a month, which is the net profit after the expenses and mortgage costs and everything else that comes with it. This episode is going to help you guys copy what we do, mirror what we do, give you the intel, give you the insight to a different way of just shifting your mind and thinking about a rental property where you don't need to be happy or comfortable just making 100 or 200 pounds a month. You can actually make up to, there are stats, guys, okay? So yours may not be exactly the same, depending on the area you're in, the type of property you have, and everything else, which we'll go into in a bit more detail. We're achieving around £3,000 a month for every £1,000 that used to be on an AST. So just so you guys understand that in a simple form, every £1,000 of rent that you guys collect right now in rent on an AST is worth around £3,000 every single month when you follow the tactics, strategies, secrets, unlock that I'm sharing with you in this video right now for you guys to go away after this episode, apply these tactics and increase your profit up to a couple of £1,000 a month, guys. I'm talking every £1,000 in our portfolio in multiple different cities. That's 5 different cities at the moment that we've been doing this in for, several years now. Every £1,000, we're turning into around £3,000 every single month. And some of the months are up to £8,000, guys. If you don't believe that, that we're achieving on a property which would usually rent for £1,250 a month, we're achieving just under £8,000 in the high season for 1 month. Okay, guys? That's why we're saying on average, we're increasing our profits by 200%, okay? 200%, right? Now, if that's something that sounds of interest to you, there's nothing for sale here, guys. Just send my team an email, okay, and we'll show you those stats, okay? If that is the unlock for some of you guys that need to see a £1,250 a month property can generate up to £8,000 a month, and that will be the shift in your mind for you to say, yes, I want to do this. Yes, I'm going all in. I'm going to listen to what Ryan said. I'm going to list my property as a short let now. Then I'm absolutely happy if you just hit my team up. If you just send an email to Team Ryan at theyrentanyhome.com, I'll be happy to share those stats with you guys, okay? Because I can't obviously demonstrate them here while you're listening to this podcast. So, if you think about how buy-to-let used to be, those methods of making money or relying on a normal tenant where there's evictions and there's late rental payments and there's problem tenants, not all of them, of course, some of them, and all the stresses and hassle associated with renting a property to a conventional tenant. Now, there's also the evictions. Now, as a conventional landlord with a buy-to-let property, you're locked into, or you're like a prisoner to the tenancy agreement and to the court and the Housing Act. So if there's a problem or the tenant moves in, pays the first month's rent and loses their job, which does happen, or for any other reason, maybe they're a serial rent dodger and they deliberately don't pay the next 4 or 5 months rent, okay? It can take you on average up to about 5 months to get that tenant out, and you're a prisoner and you're a passenger to the court or the judge's decision, okay? I don't want that for any of you here, and I cannot remember the last time we actually issued just a standard AST in my portfolio. What I'm discussing and sharing with you guys today in this episode is using a different type of agreement, holiday letting agreement or a short-term rental agreement or a license, which means it falls completely outside the Housing Act. So should the worst happen, there is no eviction, okay? No eviction at all. And as it happens, sorry, I just knocked something off there. I'm just sitting in the car just outside, about to go into a meeting. So I'm just recording this episode now. I lost my headphones. 1 second. I've lost my headphones. So I'm just recording this episode of the podcast now because I've got 30 minutes spare. And then we're actually, I've got another call, which is straight after that, for some guests to come onto the podcast. So we're looking for business people. We're looking for entrepreneurs. We're looking for anybody with an interesting story that can give more value to you guys, because you guys have been emailing in, you guys have been letting us know what information you'd like more of, what else you'd like us to do, so how I can bring more value to you on my team. So that's another interview that's lined up in a moment. So if any of you guys have anyone interesting, or you're an interesting character, or you want to be featured on the podcast, or a shout out on the podcast, or something like that, just email my team, which is teamryan@theyrentanihome.com. And obviously we can have that conversation and maybe get one of you guys on the show. So as it happens, talking about evictions, we have right now today a problem with a tenant it's a holiday guest in one of our properties down here in Brighton. I'm in Brighton again. Now, this is a prime example. When you short let, which is what I'm going through in this podcast episode, okay? When you short let, they don't get issued an AST. They get issued a different type of agreement, which is very simple. It's a holiday rental agreement. If you think of it similar to a hotel, okay, when somebody checks into a hotel, it's like they have permission or a license to stay in that property for a period of time. It's that simple. And if it's £100 a day, they pay £100 times 10 for however many days they want to stay. Okay, that's the £1,000 and that's it. It's the end. If they don't leave, they don't have to be evicted. There's no judge, there's no eviction, there's no housing act, etc., etc. So you can understand that should the worst happen on this type of agreement, which is a holiday rental agreement, it's a lot easier and simple, and it all happens on the same day that somebody has to leave because they don't have any rights. Now, why that's not a great thing, we have a client right now in one of the properties who missed the next holiday rental premium. So now they're not entitled to spend another month in that particular property. So as it happens today, it's challenging, it's not great, but will be dealt with the same day, okay? That's the flexibility and the control that it gives you back as a landlord, so you're not trapped as a prisoner to the court or to an AST, going through that horrendous eviction ordeal, which I've been through in the past. And funny enough, it's the same property. I bought a block of flats in Maidstone many years ago now. I've still got property there right now. And the same property, which was the ground floor flat, I think we had 2, maybe 3 evictions back to back in the same property. Now, I think that's probably something like the first person who got evicted told their friend that they managed to drag it out for however long and get some free rent for however long. And then the next person who applied to move into the property, maybe it was a friend, maybe it was a family member, maybe they told them the landlord was a soft touch, or maybe they just hustled me in general. Maybe they just hustled me and introduced the property to some of their friends, or it was them living there again and they got someone else to put their name down the application or something. I don't know. Anyway, evictions are horrendous. We don't enjoy them. We don't want them to happen, but they do. This is a way for you to completely avoid evictions. So let me go into a little bit more depth, because there's lots to cover here. It's like free training on this podcast episode right now. There's nothing for sale. There's no shitty bullshit guru get rich quick discovery day course that you need to go to and then you get upsold to some £20,000 a year mastermind. None of that crap is happening here right now. I'm just giving you guys as much value as possible. Somebody's been in this business for 20 years that doesn't rely on making money from selling courses, because we're actually doing business. We're in the trenches doing the deals. So if I can give some value back to you guys and you appreciate that, that's what makes me feel better. Okay, so there's nothing for sale. Now, if you think of a short-term tenant, which is what this podcast episode is about, or a mid-term tenant, instead of giving somebody a minimum term of 6 months on an AST. So if you think about it, some people may come for 3 months in some of our properties. Some people may come for a night, 1 night in some of our properties. And some people may come for 3 days to a week, okay? It varies. Now, as you can imagine in the sharing economy, this is not Airbnb. We used Airbnb for a while, completely come away from Airbnb in 2016. Haven't looked back, and I believe we got a 33% increase in our profit by coming away from Airbnb and going over to a different platform, which was invited onto, which we went all in on, which happens to be Booking.com. Not affiliated with Booking.com. We are a part of the partner program, etc. But no affiliation with Booking.com there. We don't get paid commission for being a spokesperson for Booking.com or nothing like that. It's just they've been the best platform for us. So we came away from Airbnb. So when you think of, well, let me give you an example. We have one property which normally rents for £1,250 per calendar month on an AST. That's the market rent, and the market is the market. So if I'm happy with taking £1,250 every single month, that's fine. The market is the market. If I wanted to charge £1,350 a month for that property, chances are people will look at it and say it's overpriced. It's overpriced where they can get the same property or 3, 4, 5, 10 more properties in the same street, maybe even the same block for up to a maximum of $1,250 and maybe even in better condition. So because the market is the market, there's another way to add value to the tenant to make them comfortable with paying more, paying above the market rent. Now, how do we do that? We do that by offering them better flexible terms. All of you landlords on here can do that. Offer better flexible returns. Now, terms, not returns. Now, what terms do we offer them? If you think about it, people want more flexibility. So less than 6 months. When you offer less than 6 months, which is under the remit of midterm or short term, you can actually charge a premium because these guys want the flexibility of in, out. Maybe they're relocating. Maybe they've sold their house to get the money out and now they're a cash buyer and they're sitting in rental accommodation knowing they're going to buy something in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 months. They don't want to be locked into a 6 or 12 month AST, etc., etc. There's that. People relocating, which I said is a huge one as well. Then you have recruitment companies, temporary staff, contractors, builders working in the area, or even directors, or even site managers, or even foremen, or even bank managers, etc., drafted into any company in any city to do a job for a shorter period of time. Where do they go? Hotels, expensive, limited space, overpriced bars and mini bars, nowhere to cook, no cooking facilities, eating in the restaurant every night. A hotel that may be £100 a night can easily add, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, even £1,000 more at the end of the month to your bill, which is only a couple of £150 a week, when you've just been eating in a restaurant a few times, having breakfast a few times, use some minibar items a few times, have to eat downstairs every single day or get takeaways, etc., etc., and there's limited space. So these people, these guys want the flexibility of a home from home with a kitchen, with a lounge, with a dining area and a dining table, etc., etc., with super fast Wi-Fi, private Wi-Fi instead of shared hotel, etc., etc. Excuse me. So there's many reasons that I'm not going to go into now. You guys can look on the internet, do some research, use that fantastic resource called Google to find out how big the market is and how much demand there is. But to give you an idea of how much demand there is, Booking.com spent over £5 billion the year before just on Google pay-per-click advertising, just to get people looking for short and mid-term stays to land on page 1 of Booking.com, which is where your listing would be appearing. 5 billion, not million, billion, okay? 5 billion pounds, okay? Now that gives you an idea of how big the market is, okay? And they're still the biggest player out there. So going back to that property, which used to rent for £1,250. Now we have companies, we have, for the last nearly 3 years, that particular property has been renting for around £1,850 a month. That's 1,850. Now, we used to get, or the market rent is £1,250. Now, the way to achieve that particular on that particular deal, we offered the flexible terms where it's from 3 months, okay? So somebody would come for 3 months and they want the flexibility. Most people are coming for 3 months, they extend to 4 months, then to 5 months, then to 6 months, then to 7 months. This attracts companies, this attracts contractors, this attracts builders, this attracts companies that need the flexibility of a fully furnished, decent property, house or apartment that happens to be a 2-bed apartment, and they put their team in there and the company picks up the tab, okay? Now, we've had contractors in the same property and we've achieved up to £2,150 a month. That's nearly double. It's nearly 100% more than the market rent. So these people are out there, guys. Another way we achieve that, or you guys can achieve that, is by giving them guaranteed acceptance. Now, when you think of guaranteed acceptance, no credit checking, no referencing, etc., that again opens the doors to other tenants who may not have the credentials or the proof or the bank statements or be employed or have savings and not have the full amount and etc., or not have the affordability going through their bank to pay the rent, so they can't go to a high street agent. These people are still good for the money, but they will just fall down on the strict, ridiculous rigmarole, the red tape of a high street letting agent who says, if you don't have this, you don't get it. It's black and white. So we offer guaranteed acceptance. Now, we can offer guaranteed acceptance because if we're issuing a holiday rental agreement or a license, it doesn't fall within the Housing Act. So let's say we issue guaranteed acceptance, somebody moves in, they run into some problems or they haven't got the rent for the next month, etc., etc. What's the worst that happens? We don't have to take them to court to evict them. We've got the full flexibility and speed to just serve them with the notice, which is in the agreement, which we give them up to 7 days at the absolute most. And then it becomes null and void, the contract, we re-enter the property, etc., etc. That's using a license or a holiday rental agreement. So that enables you to completely work around the risk of having the rigmarole of doing this and doing that and credit checking and this and that and the paperwork and how long it takes, and the computer says no when you're using those type of agreements. You can get a lot more creative. People pay for convenience. So when you've got guaranteed acceptance, when you've got less than 6 months, when you've got move in the same day, okay, all those flexible things where it just attracts a different type of client, okay? Now, let me give you another example. We've got one other house, which is a 4-bedroom executive detached house. Now, the mortgage or the market rent on that particular property is £1,850. That's the local market rent right now, okay, 2020. Now, for the last 2 sets of tenants, we've actually got another tenant about to move in. Now, the last rent or the current rent that we're achieving, okay, let me put it another way. Let me make it simpler. We've taken that property, which used to rent in the local market for £1,850. It is fully furnished, I must add, so they're all fully furnished. And now we're achieving £2,850. How do we do that? It's £1,000 a month more. £1,000 a month more for the flexibility that somebody can come from Germany. I think these tenants came from. They want to be right near a particular school, okay? So they've got their own, their own ideas. They need to be, near a certain school. They need to be in the catchment area. They're looking for accommodation. They're about to buy a house. They want to move in here first and then obviously find their property and move out. They've asked for a fixed term of 3 months to start with the pre-agreed extension that they would like to extend it for 1 more month. That's £2,850 for a property that used to rent on the local AST, the market rent of £1,850. That's £1,000 a month more. And again, they don't get issued a tenancy agreement. They get issued a short-term rental agreement that's capped at a certain length of time, okay? Now, that's just 2 examples that I'm giving you right now. Now, these are mid-term tenants, we call them. There's a lot more money to be made in short-term tenants. When I mean short-term, I'm talking 1 night to 3 nights. When I'm talking mid-term, I'm talking 1 month to 3 months. And then you're talking ASTs, which is standard, which is 6 months plus. Okay, guys? So, right now in 2020, the market is huge. Okay, the market is huge. It's one of the fastest growing markets as well right now for short-term accommodation. That means more and more people are looking for the flexibility to, instead of going into a hotel, which we just explained it's expensive, they want a home from home, a furnished house, a furnished apartment, a microwave, a lounge, a communal space where, you know, their family or friends, etc., or colleagues can get together and they can cook and everything else. Okay, just check Google out and look at the trends of how service accommodation is growing. It's all over the internet, it's everywhere, and it's now in the public domain, but it's been there for a while like this. Okay, this is why Airbnb, it's because of Airbnb. This is why some cities around the world, especially London, have brought in the 90-day rule. Okay, guys, that's to regulate short-term rental accommodation. As you guys, you smart guys on here will know, whenever the government steps in to do some sort of regulation on a market, that's when it's big enough and it's growing and they're trying to control it so it cools off. They're trying to regulate it. They're trying to cap it. They're trying to manipulate it a bit and mold it because it's growing too fast and it's out of control. So it's becoming a phenomenon or becoming a problem. Obviously, you guys, you smart guys, you investors, you will know that you make more money in an unregulated market compared to how much you can make in a regulated market. So what I mean by that is there's a shelf life, okay? There's a shelf life in this particular market until the party is over. Obviously, it's got some legs, it's got some time in it, but you've seen what's happened to buy-to-let. Okay, just use that as an example. The government has squeezed all of the juice out of buy-to-let because too many landlords have had it too good and too easy for too long. Short-term rentals are now growing like hockey stick growth as buy-to-let is, you know, cooling off and dying a death in that sense. Okay, so they're crossing the axes like that. Buy-to-let is declining and short-term rentals are experiencing hockey stick growth. I want all of you guys to know that the best time, the right time, is right now. Hoping that's not a traffic warden. Is right now for you guys to get in before it's too late and all of the juice has been squeezed out of the deal, out of the berry. Okay. Now, let me just give you guys a summary of how this works. So let's think about it. So if you're interested in short-term rental, converting your property or changing your property, which doesn't take a lot, it's just making sure it's furnished and a few other little things that you need to do, okay, to turn it into a short-term accommodation. Now, the first thing you need to do is furnish the property. It's very simple. If you're unsure, go onto booking.com, have a look at something similar in a nearby postcode to where you are, where your property is, and find out what they've included. Look at the pictures and you will see. It's not rocket science. It's just furnished with an ironing board, ironing facilities, cooking facilities, all the soft furnishings, internet, etc., etc. Okay? You can go onto the internet, you can search booking.com, you can put your postcode in, have a look at a building nearby you didn't even know, and you find out the guy next door or the guy below or the lady opposite has been running their property successfully as like a mini hotel or short-term let on booking.com for so long, and then you see the price, you're like, oh my God, I've left all of that money on the table. So you want to go all in. Now, that's furnishing the property to get it prepared. Now, once you furnish the property, you need to list the property. Once again, I'm all in on booking.com, so I'm biased for booking.com. You can use any platform you want. You log into the platform. This is booking.com. It asks you a few questions about your property. Very simple. Just like if you was listing it on OpenRent or Rightmove or somewhere else, it asks you a few questions, okay? You answer those questions to make sure that the property has got those facilities and your property is listed. You add the photos, etc., etc. Ask the questions. It may take you an hour or so, maybe a little bit longer if it's the first time. You're not very, there's no programming or nothing like that. It's just maybe it take you an hour and a half or so. So then you list the property on booking.com. So now the property's prepared. Now it's on booking.com. You need to find the tenants. You need to find the tenants. Now, finding tenants or finding guests or finding customers, which they're called. Now, if you imagine earlier I said to you that Booking.com spent over 5 billion in the previous year just to have people looking for accommodation exactly like yours, the one you're about to list, your house, your apartment, 1-bed studio, 2-bed apartment, 3-bed apartment, duplex, triplex house, detached house, executive home, etc., etc. Now, if you imagine they spent 5 billion to send people that are looking for accommodation to the first page on Booking.com. Now, our portfolio has been filled on average at 84% all year round for the last several years. 84%. Now, that's a very, very good stat. You may find in other cities it could be a little bit lower. You may find that you do something better in the city you're in, or there's more demand, and you can get slightly higher. But ours have been running at 84% all year round. Now, once you've found the tenants, you need to manage the tenants, okay, guys? Now, you're probably thinking, oh my God, I don't want to be responsible for like being a chambermaid or a housekeeper, doing the cleaning and then answering guests' messages and replying to guests and taking payments and, managing their questions and everything else. You don't have to do any of that. You can do all of that. You can do what you want to do, or you can do nothing. There's companies out there which would charge you a fee around about 18 to 22%, somewhere around there. And the reason they can charge that much is because there's a lot of profit in the deal. Okay, guys, when you look at the numbers, there's a lot of profit in the deal. Now, when you outsource it to a short letting company, they will manage everything for you, and they'll probably provide all their own bedding and linen, or a service they bolt onto the side, which is linen and bedding and servicing and things like that. So they will deal with as much as you want them to do, or as little. You can find these agencies on the internet, or you can just give my team a call at Team Ryan at theyrentanihome.com, and obviously we can help you out with that. That's something that we do. Now, you filled the property's being managed, okay, guys, and let's look at how you can value the property. So thinking about something, a big question you guys may have is, how much is your property worth? The easiest way for you to find out how much your property is worth is by going onto Booking.com. This is a very good hack for you guys, so you can see the numbers yourself. Go onto Booking.com right now after this episode. Type in your postcode, so where you are or whereabouts you're positioned in the city or town. Have a look at something similar. So it's very, very similar to what you have. If you've got a 2-bedroom flat, look for 2-bedroom flats. If you've got a 4-bedroom house, look for 4-bedroom houses, okay? Then once you're on Booking.com, you've typed in that criteria, so it's similar to your particular property that you have right now, which is rented or you're about to buy. And then have a look at the Monday or the Sunday to Thursday rate. Very important. Sunday to Thursday. Probably have a look around about April time, which is like an average. When you're in April, it's not the peak summer, July, August, okay, where the prices could be, like I said before, we get up to £8,000 in that part of the year, in that cycle through the summer peak, for a property that used to rent for around about £1,250. Okay, guys, it's madness. Now, so if you use April as a benchmark, it's not the low season, it's not the high season, it's average. So that will give you a good reading across the course of the year what you should get. So then you choose April, you look at Sunday night to Thursdays to see how much they are per night. Then you write that figure down per night, okay? And there's obviously 5 nights of those in a week, so times that by 5. Then you look at the Friday night rate. So you look at the Friday night rate, you write that down. That will be slightly higher than the Monday or the Sunday to Thursday rate, okay? Cool, look at this, how close it is. Then you have a look at the Saturday night rate, okay? The Saturday night rate is prime all year round. Some properties that we have right now in multiple different cities here in England, in the south, they can vary from £100 all the way up to £700 on a Saturday night. You need to have a look on Booking.com so you understand this and understand how this works, okay, guys? Now,
when you have the weekday night rate, then you have the Friday night rate, which is 1 Friday a week, so it's 4 Fridays in a month. And then you have the Saturday night rate, which is, again, 1 a week or 4 a month, okay? Some months there is 5. I think 1 month in a year there's 5 Saturdays. Now, when you times that by, say, 7, so that gives you a week, then you times that by 4, so it gives you a 28-day month, or you times it by 12 months and divide it back, etc., etc., or times it, multiply the other way and bring it back. So that will give you the monthly gross revenue that your property potentially stands to make, which, remember, is 100% occupancy. When you then calculate that back to 84%, which is ours, which is achievable for you guys, maybe even better. Even if you do it modestly and go down to 75%, have a look at those numbers. See how much more that will generate over and above your AST market rent right now. I know from experience of looking and researching every city in the UK to work out what city we're going into next, where we're acquiring or controlling properties in that city next. And I will guarantee that revenue will be at least 150 to 250% more than the market AST rent that you guys are getting right now. At least 150% to around 250% more. When you look at that, around 84% occupancy, which we're getting across the board of our portfolio in all of the different cities that we're in. I need you to go and do that exercise as quick as you can after this episode, right? Because that is the shift. That is the game changer. All of the other bits can be worked out. The furnishing, which is simple. You can rent the furniture for the cost of probably a 1-night stay a month. Would rent you a brand new modern furniture pack if you really wanted it, or you could just buy it on the internet, or you can finance it, or you could, buy it used, mix and match, etc., etc. So furnishing is not a problem at all. Listing the property is free. It's free on booking.com. It's absolutely free, okay? Managing the property will cost you something, but again, that only comes from the profit that you make. You can find a company online to do it, or my company will manage it for you. Then it's the finance, the numbers, seeing how much you get, okay? When you can see how much you get, the next thing you'll want to do is to repeat this as quick as possible on any other buy-to-let property, the old way of making money, buy-to-let, or any other property you're about to buy. Because the returns, like I said, every £1,000 of rent that we used to collect is now worth at least £3,000 a month to us, every single month in multiple cities. Why am I recording this podcast, giving you guys this information, okay? I believe from experience, I know from experience, this is the fastest way for any of you guys on here, any landlords, any investors, any entrepreneurs, to increase your profit right now from your existing property or portfolio, or even if you go and rent a property from a landlord and then put that property on booking.com. I know that in one property, just one property, it has the potential, when it's done right, of course, the right way, you can unlock around the average UK salary. The average UK salary, which is around £28,000 right now in 2020. I know that you can unlock around £28,000 a year, just over a couple of £1,000s a month, on top of the rent that you would get, or on top of the rent that you'd pay to the landlord. And then you can put that property on booking.com. After this episode, nobody on here should have any money worries. Nobody at all listening to this episode should have any money worries at all. Because now you know, with what I've shared or sharing of finding or putting your property on booking.com, running it as a short let, every £1,000 of rent is now worth £3,000 every single month. You can outsource the management to a short letting company or a company like ours to manage the property for you, so you don't have to do anything at all, and you'll unlock around £28,000 a year. You have the potential in one property. Nobody listening to this episode right now, listening to this content, can ever complain again that they need more money, or they're unhappy, or they can't get out of their 9 to 5, or they're trapped, or they don't know any other ways to make any more money. This is the unlock, guys. I'm giving you the secret right now for free. There's no £10,000 or £20,000 mastermind for you to join. I'm just giving you guys what we do in my business every single day for free. I hope this delivers some value to you guys. That's what I'm here for, just to give you the confidence, inspire you, help you, make you think a little bit differently, to just review. If you just do one thing after this episode, just go onto booking.com, type in your postcode, have a look for a similar property to yours, look at the rent you're getting right now, calculate the Sunday night to Thursday night rate, calculate the Friday night rate, calculate the Saturday night rate, add those up, times that by 4 weeks or 28 days in a month, and then look at that figure, then deduct your rent, and then have a look and see how much is left. If that is not enough for you guys to decide that you want to enter and venture into short letting and midterm letting, then I don't know what else to say. Then I'm speechless. Okay, guys? So I don't want any of you guys on here to miss out on the largest transfer of wealth that's happening right now in the rental market. And this is the largest transfer of wealth I've seen as an investor, as an entrepreneur, as a business person, as a landlord since the millennium. Millennium? Since the millennium. Millennium? Cool, can't even speak now. Since the year 2000, right? The year 2000. This is the largest transfer of wealth since then. I don't want anybody on here to miss out on this, because like I said, it's going through hockey stick growth right now, as buy to let is dying a death. Let me have some water. Muddling up my words now. I'm so excited. I'm so pumped that I can't even speak properly. Okay, guys. So, I don't want any of you guys on here. How are we for time? I don't want any of you guys on here. I need to wrap this up and get into this meeting. I don't want any of you guys on here listening right now to miss out on the greatest transfer of wealth that's happening right now for all of you. None of you need to miss out. Okay, guys? Now, I just want to add, if you're a landlord, right now, okay, and you want to do this, but you're unsure how to do this, how to put your property on booking.com or furnish it and dress it and style it so it's ready for short-term guests, or how much money you'll make if you're not really sure, or you just want that extra little bit of confidence coming from somebody else who's, doing this and been doing this for a long time, and you just want, someone to hold your hand, etc., etc. There's nothing for sale here, guys. There's no £20,000 mentorship. What we are actually doing is we're filming a documentary. We're filming a documentary where we're taking ordinary landlords with their properties on ASTs, and we're just hand picking them across the UK in different cities. Okay, guys? Now, we're going to do everything for them to get their property prepared, get it set up, get it listed, get it on the booking sites it needs to be on, especially booking.com, optimizing their listing so it's built and generating more money for them, okay? At least 100% more rent. If you're a landlord and you want my team, my company, to do all of that, what we just discussed and more, at no charge to you, no charge at all, guys, all you need to do is send my team an email, which is teamryan@theyrentanyhome.com. We're going to feature you on this show, on the podcast. We're also going to put you on the documentary. Okay, guys? Now, We're going to choose some landlords. We're going to carefully select some landlords. We're going to cherry pick some landlords in different cities, okay? Now, you're probably wondering, why are we doing this? The reason why I'm doing this is because I want the content. I want the content. This is just being honest and transparent, and this is my truth. I want the content to record and document that part of your journey that you didn't know before. You've come to my company. We've done everything for you and charged you nothing. Now your property is making at least 100% more rent. That is the guarantee. Now we're going to use that content. We're going to record that content. We're going to put you on a podcast. We're going to put you on the show, etc. We're going to use that, and many different landlords or multiple different investors that have buy-to-let properties all over the country in the different cities. So when we launch the national management service, which is a profit increasing agency, it's nothing like what's already out there. It's not a rental agency. We're not just like an Airbnb management company. We're a profit increasing agency because it's what we've been doing for a long time. It works. It works not only in our own city, not only on our own properties, not only on my own portfolio, but in all of the other cities we've already been in. If you want to be considered for that, so my team will come back to you and have a call with you. You might have a call with me, find out more, give you some more information, and let you know the next steps. All you need to do, guys, is make sure that you subscribe to this podcast. You have to be subscribed to qualify. Then we also want you to leave the best possible 5-star review that you can, and then write a review at the same time. All you then need to do is email a screen print of that review so we know who you are. We've got your email address. Obviously, you'll put your name in the email. Send it to Team Ryan at theyrentanyhome.com, which is TeaHeyRentanyHome.com. Team Ryan at theyrentanyhome.com. And one of us will come back to you. We'll let you know the next steps, how we can get you on the show, how we can put you in a documentary, and the most important part is how we're going to increase your rent by at least 100% time. 100%, okay? I hope you got some value from this episode. I would love to hear your thoughts. I'm actually running late now for this meeting, so I'm going to end this episode and obviously crack on with this meeting, and I will talk to you guys as soon as possible. All right, thanks for listening. Bye-bye.
Hey podcasters, I really appreciate every single one of you listening to my show, and I guess you're getting value from it, which is why you're listening in the first place. So please, please, please do share this podcast, share this show with anybody that you think will benefit from listening to my content. Now, because I understand the value of shouting you out or shouting your company out or even putting you on the show, if you subscribe, leave a 5-star review, I will shout you out or your business on the next show.